Nihon Falcom has been one of my favorite developers for years now, mainly due to their knack for weaving incredible games out of modest budgets. Now, while still very niche, they've garnered a fair amount of attention over the past few years with their two flagship franchises, Trails and Ys. I've always been more of a fan of the former than the latter, but I've wanted to find the right game to get me hooked on the Ys series for quite some time now. These games consist of separate tales in the extraordinary life of the series' central protagonist, the dashing adventurer, Adol Kristen. Except for this one, but trust me, it's good too. The latest entry, Ys VIII, originally released in Japan in 2016 for the PlayStation Vita, and was followed up with an expanded and significantly improved PS4 port a year later. Oh, and before that big ol' 8 scares you away, don't worry, you can totally jump into this one even if you've never played an Ys game before. I had heard whispers that it was one of the series' best, so I was beyond stoked to give it a shot when both versions were localized in late 2017. Unfortunately, it launched with an iffy localization that wasn't fixed until early 2018. But by then, a Nintendo Switch port of the expanded PS4 version had already been announced, so I figured, might as well wait. And oh my, was it ever worth the wait. As a self-proclaimed master Falcom shill, my expectations were astronomically high, and somehow, this game exceeded every single one of them. Even despite some of the minor issues with the Switch port, Ys VIII might just be one of the best games I've ever played. It's a testament to Falcom's years of experience, a culmination of their strengths as game developers, and proof that they can learn from past mistakes. It's a near flawless action-adventure RPG, and I'm not even joking when I say that I actually enjoyed this more than Breath of the Wild. Ys VIII kicks off with Adol and his best friend Dogi on the Lombardia, a passenger ship taking them to their next big adventure. However, to no one's surprise, they're shipwrecked by a giant sea monster and washed up on the cursed Isle of Seiren, an island that no ship has ever returned from. Danger and adventure hides around every corner of Seiren, and Adol has to band together with his fellow castaways to explore the island, uncover its mysteries, and find a way to escape. You soon realize, though, that it's far more than just a simple tale of survival. At night, Adol begins to have wildly vivid dreams of a woman named Donna, the secondary, and more talkative, protagonist who lived in a long-gone civilization called Eternia. Strangely enough, she seems to be having visions of Adol and his crew, hinting that fate has grand plans in store for the pair. It's okay, girl. I too find myself fantasizing about Adol all the time. But hey, as strong as the story is, Ys VIII doesn't revolve solely around its plot. It strikes the perfect balance of pacing between its story and gameplay. These two elements are essential for any RPG, and it's rare for a game to have both so in sync with each other. Ys has always been known for its gameplay, and VIII offers not only one of the most enjoyable combat systems in the entire series, but one of the best I've seen in recent years. But it's not just the combat that feels great. Every single gameplay mechanic naturally coexists with each other, providing a smooth experience for the player. But what exactly makes up the gameplay of Ys VIII? During your 50-hour adventure on the Isle of Seiren, you'll be exploring vast landscapes, looking for other survivors to add to your ever-growing castaway village, fighting dangerous enemies with exciting hack-and-slash combat, and gathering materials to improve your gear. It feels like everything about this game was fine-tuned to keep the players having fun at all times. You're constantly pushed towards new grand sights and to just enjoy yourself. This is one of the few games that makes you actually want to see and do everything. Each area is visually unique and beautiful, and is accompanied by gorgeous, addictingly hummable music, which never fail to keep me pumped throughout my journey. Falcom games have always had amazing soundtracks, and I honestly think the Ys VIII OST might be one of their absolute bests. Every single song in this 67-track OST is incredible. Combine that with some fantastic voice acting in both English and Japanese, and you have yourself some truly wonderful sound design. It also helps that the game has some pretty impressive visuals, especially when you remember Ys VIII's Vita roots. Yeah, some of the animation and cutscenes are a little stiff, but the gameplay one's too good. Besides that, character models look nice and the environments can be simply stunning. Considering Falcom is a smaller studio, it's a great step up from the visuals shown in previous games. Everything just looks so good on the eyes. Especially Adol! Which is good, since you'll be constantly looking around every nook and cranny. Exploring these environments is rarely tedious either, thanks to the speed and mobility of characters and the ability to fast travel nearly anywhere. Another incentive to explore comes in the form of castaways. There's a good amount of them spread out there to find, and they all work towards improving your makeshift village. The village itself is basically the perfect representation of how Falcom Falcom was able to seamlessly combine story and gameplay. It functions sort of like a hub for Adol's adventure, letting you get your bearings after long stretches of exploration. Look, being a talented, attractive adventurer can be stressful. Just let the man relax and fish, okay? Villager requests are frequently put on the board near the entrance, which Adol can complete to improve the hectic lives of the castaways. Through these, you'll learn a lot about their backstories and motivations, gain reputation points, and obtain items to help Adol on his adventure. Reputation is really important, as the amount of reputation will affect the ending you get. Now, I will be as brief as I can on this part since I don't want to spoil anything. There are 3 endings players can get: bad, normal, and true. The bad ending is nearly impossible to get unless you ignore everything and blitz through the story. Please don't. And normal ends the game right before the true final boss. To get the true ending, you need at least 200 reputation points. You might think that it doesn't matter, but the difference between normal and true is a phenomenal final boss and conclusion, so make sure you be a good little castaway and do all the requests as they pop up on the board, okay? That's about all I'll say on that though, since this is a spoiler-free review. As long as you explore as much as possible, it'll be pretty easy to get that worthwhile true ending. Another way to gain reputation is by participating in village raids. These have Adol and crew defending the village gates against waves of enemies. I might sound like a broken record at this point, but it's just so impressive how much they're able to mix up the core mechanics without things feeling stale. Combat itself is responsive, flashy, and feels like a culmination of the systems the E-series has been building upon for nearly a decade. Like with E7 and Celceta, Adol isn't alone on his expeditions due to the game's party system. 3 of the 6 party members make up your active team, and can be switched out at any moment with a click of a button. Cullen, you say? Why would I ever want to play anyone other than Adol? Look how handsome he is! Well, hypothetical Inquisitor, while I do agree with you that Adol's stunning good looks are one of the highlights of the game, the party system is there for a reason. Every character's attacks are one of 3 types: Slash, Pierce, and Strike, and the majority of enemies are weak to one of those attack types. Exploiting enemy weaknesses can eventually cause them to enter a break state, creating an opening for the entire team to go in and rain down massive damage. So it's important to switch characters frequently in order to utilize the game's combat system to its fullest potential. This system encourages players to experiment with other characters, not just stick with one until they burn out on the game due to self-imposed repetitiveness. A nice bonus is that since the characters who aren't in your active party still gain experience, you never have to worry about certain characters being underleveled. Again, Ys 8 is a game that wants you to have fun more than anything else. You can customize your active party however you see fit, and there's really no wrong combination given that all the characters are a blast to play. Fights move pretty fast, so you'll need to properly time your attacks and dodges, chain together combos, and unleash awesome special moves to make the most out of combat. Each character has a wide variety of skills they learn as they fight, but you're limited to 4 at a time, each corresponding to one of the 4 face buttons. The rate in which you learn these skills is, like the rest of the game, perfectly paced, so combat stays engaging from start to finish. In a fast-paced game like this, you want defense to not slow down offense. Ys 8 understands this, so even your defensive maneuvers encourage players to keep up the attack. If you time your dodge roll right, you perform what's called a flash move, causing time to slow down for a couple seconds, giving you a chance to rush in and counter. On the other hand, if you press the right bumper at the exact time an enemy's attack hits you, you pull off a flash guard. What this does is give you a small window where every subsequent attack is a critical hit. Oh, and what would a JRPG be without insanely flashy super moves? No worries, Ys 8's got that too. I might make all this sound complex, but it's really easy to pick up and play. Ys 8's combat somehow manages to never grow stale during your long adventure on Seiren, a feat that few games this length are able to even accomplish. So, is it obvious that I love Ys 8 yet? Are you understanding how much I adore this absolute gem of a game? You're probably standing there, shaking at how much bacon Falcom has already packed into your action game BLT. Oh, good lord, you say. How will I ever be able to finish all this food? Well, Mama Falcom slaved away making you the best damn sandwich you'll ever have, so you're going to eat every last bite and be happy about it. She even lightly toasted the bun and grew that lettuce fresh just for you because she loves you more than anything and wants you to be happy and full. Now, let's try to dissect this needlessly complicated allegory. If the bun is the story, the scrumptious lettuce is Adol, and the bacon is that beautiful, beautiful gameplay, then what are the tomatoes? Since this is already falling apart, let's say the tomatoes are the dungeons. Did I just compare dungeons to tomatoes? Damn right I did. Don't usually like tomatoes? Well, you just haven't eaten good tomatoes. Ys tomatoes. These tomatoes don't waste your time, are well-rounded, and were grown specifically to be slapped right into your very own Ys LT. Since I have finally beaten this horse to death, if I had to offer a genuine critique, it would be that the bosses can sometimes be on the easier side. This is probably due to how easily you can prepare for them. thanks to crafting and the freedom to fast travel back to the village whenever you need to. In my opinion, it's a small price to pay for the rest of the mechanics flowing together so well. Still, there are multiple difficulty options, so if you ever find the game too easy, then just bump it up a tad. Before I stop gushing about how flawless the gameplay is, let me talk more about the exclusive elements to the extended PS4 and Switch ports. Oh no, more bacon strips, straight out of the oven! In Adol's era, new modes were added to give players even more to do, such as hunts and night expeditions. Hunts function as more or less the opposite of raids. They have Adol and crew go on the offensive, invading monster dens to preemptively destroy waves of enemies. Night expeditions allow you to revisit certain areas at night to fight harder enemies and collect new items. Donna's era probably has the biggest additions, because its content was massively overhauled compared to the original Vita release. There's a whole new multi-part dungeon Donna can explore throughout her story that's designed around her 2 new combat forms, which completely changes the way she plays. In addition to giving players a fun new challenging dungeon, there's a lot of lore you can learn here for both Eternia and the world of Ys as a whole. Speaking of Donna's extra dungeon, that's honestly the only place when I saw occasional dips in frame rate. The Switch version is adequate, offering a relatively solid 30 FPS experience. And, fortunately, those FPS dips were never really bad enough to ruin my enjoyment or immersion. What might bug some of you is its use of an adaptive resolution, but considering how fast the gameplay is, I never found this too noticeable. It's definitely not the ugliest looking game on Switch like I've seen a lot of people say online. Thankfully, the cutscenes always maintain a good resolution, so you can rest easy knowing that Adol's ravishing smile has been retained in all its glory. The only other nitpick I have is that the lighting can sometimes look a little off when playing undocked, but yeah, that's about all I got. Sure, a bit more work could have been put into the port, but altogether, it's still by far the best way to play Ys VIII portably. You know, back in my day, we played Ys VIII on the Vita, where it sometimes struggled to even hit 20 frames a second, and we were thankful. If you don't care about portability, then the PS4 version might be your best bet, since it's able to hit 1080p and 60 frames a second. Still, despite the FPS downgrade, the Switch port is a blast to play, and retains the signature quick gameplay, which pleased me to no end. This might not technically be the best way to play the game, but it's certainly my favorite. Just make sure to update it. Okay, so I've talked endlessly about the quality of Ys VIII's gameplay, and rightfully so, but how does the story stack up? As I mentioned before, the Ys series has never focused on story to this extent, and I was pretty surprised at just how strong the plot was in this game. What starts as a simple tale of a group banding together to survive ends up going to places you can't even imagine. Ys VIII knows how to utilize its story and gameplay to constantly ramp up the stakes. The sense of scale and weight of events are intense, and like with every aspect of the game, I really think Falcom outdid themselves here. It's a powerful, self-contained story that made me feel more in 50 hours than most of their games made me feel in 100. Shh, don't worry baby, you know I still love you. The reveals are spread out evenly, set up well, and the charming cast of characters keeps the narrative intriguing. What's also nice is that even though it does a great job at holding its own as a standalone title, there's a lot of nods to past games in the series, fascinating lore, and cool hints at what's to come. Adol and Donna are fantastic protagonists for this particular story, and Adol himself shows a lot of personality despite being a mostly silent protagonist. I ended up loving Donna's inclusion as well, and her story of determination and loss really resonated with me. Bottom line, it does something every RPG should strive for. To give people a story that motivates them to keep playing, and gameplay so fun that they legitimately enjoy working through the story. I sort of hope I'm not overhyping this. It's not a perfect story, but it's still one that's incredibly well told. By the time I reached the credits, I was filled with so many emotions and a sense of emptiness. I was completely blown away by the tale of Ys VIII. It's temporarily ruined RPGs for me, and I think it's going to take quite a long time before I find anything even close to it in both pure scale and quality. Ys VIII is a triumph in every sense of the word. It's so rare for me to come across a game that's able to keep my attention to the degree this game did, especially one this dense and packed with content. Falcom put their everything into this, and it absolutely shows. While I still have a plethora of Falcom games to play, as things stand, I think this is easily the best game they've ever made. It rekindled my love for the company, and I don't think it's too big an exaggeration to say this is their magnum opus. Even the Switch port's faults aren't enough to detract from the incredible experience here, and I would recommend this to anyone looking for a fun RPG. Hell, I would recommend this to anyone, period. This is the kind of game that makes you remember just why you fell in love with video games to begin with, and it saddens me just how underappreciated it is. So hey, let's change that. Play Ys 8, I promise you won't regret it. Now, you might consider this cheating just a bit, but I'm going to give Ys 8 2 different scores here. As a whole, the game is without a doubt an A+. But to keep things fair, because of these switchports problems, this version of the game gets an A-. Okay, so we are now at the end of the video. I've been trying to make these shorter each time, so bear with me here as I fire off some quick thanks. Right off the bat, thank you NIS America for providing me with a review copy of this game. This was a life-changing experience for me. Thank you guys so much for giving me a chance, and I hope to work with you guys again soon. As always, my script editor at Supreme Zerker is one of the best lads around. Please go give him a follow. But he's not the only one who helped out with this video. Twitter user @_Zandarak is responsible for that amazing thumbnail you saw when you clicked on this video. What an amazing lad, go send some love his way as well. And lastly, thank you to my friends James and Turn for helping me fact check the video. To show myself real quick, if you like what I do here, why don't you follow me on Twitter and Twitch at Dr. Cullen PhD. Before I go, I have one announcement to make, and it's that Xseed actually provided me with a review copy of Ys Memories of Celceta for Steam, so expect a video for that soon. That's really it for me. I'm so happy to finally get this out to you guys. This has been such an amazing experience, and I just hope you guys see how passionate I am about this game, and I hope you go pick it up, because it's totally worth your time. Alright, that's gonna be it for me. Y'all have a fantastic rest of your day. Bye bye.